Welcome back to the Notes in the Garden podcast. This is Jeff Spickard, the president of Musikgarten, and today we're going to keep following up on what we've been talking about, going back to basics. And today our topic is music meets the needs of children. And again, I have my two cohorts with me here. We've got Amy Rucker. Amy, how you doing?
I'm doing well, thank you. Good to
Excellent.
see
Excellent. And Ellen Johansen. What's going on, Ellen?
Oh, same old, same old. Nice to see you.
All right, good job. So we're going to primarily focus on one area of where we feel like music really meets the needs of children. So here's a sentence for you. Children's primary learning motivation comes from being in a pleasant and non-threatening environment. And it really takes up two aspects: the physical space itself, or nowadays, the online space, and then also the respectful attitude of the parent and the child, the two adults that the child is interacting with in the class. Now, Amy, you gave me a really good quote from Maria Montessori that I'm going to read. I then came to realize that everything about a child should not only be in order, but that it should be proportioned to the child's use. And that interest and concentration arise specifically from the elimination of what is confusing and superfluous. And that's from what, The Secret of the Childhood? Is that right, Amy?
Yes, The Secret of Childhood.
Secret of Childhood. Okay, great. So let's focus on the first adult that we want to talk about. Let's think about the parent. What do you think the parent's role is in the physical and psychological well-being of the child when it comes to being in a class? Who wants to take it?
You know, I was going to just jump in and say I think that the most important thing is just that the adult can enter into the experience with their child and wholly. You know, they need to really be a part of the activity and, you know, doing that modeling and participating. And I think that through that, not only does the child get the enjoyment of the parent being in a musical, you know, attitude, or you know, their mood is lifted by that time spent together. But so not only are they getting that, but they're seeing how to move through these activities. What do I do? Oh, that's what my parent is doing. I'm going to do that too. So that modeling and just hoping that the parent can really enter fully into the moments of the class. Mm. What do you think, Ellen?
Yeah, I'm thinking of today's parent where they're bombarded with activities for their children, and most of the time it's pay, drive, drop, pick up, drive, feed, etc.
Right.
And we're asking them to walk in, shoes off, sit on a floor, and interact with this child in a space with other parents interacting with their children. And at first, they may not feel too safe about that. And so that first time parent very much doesn't do anything, but as they see other parents, hopefully, who are more interactive, they're beginning to learn not only from the teacher, but also from the other parents, that there is a way of being with the child that can include music and movement. And that's really special, and that's something we want them to find out. A little harder online, but it can be done there too, just because you've got multiple boxes, and they can definitely compare their behavior to the behavior of the other parents. So, but that is an underpinning of all of our classes. Without it, the class doesn't do well.
Yeah, you know, I've been making the case for this being, you know, an easy job for the parents. Here's a great time for you to just unplug from everything else and just enter in the class, and your job is really easy. All you have to do is do what I'm doing and have fun with your child, and sort of setting it up that way so that they do start to let go of that, Ellen, what you're talking about, that whole mentality that they're in day to day. Here's a chance for them to enter into 30 minutes, 45 minutes, an hour, or whatever it happens to be, of just where they can really let go of some of that day-to-day stuff. And really, truly, it is a great opportunity, and not one that they get that I can think of anywhere else in the week. So
Not
that's what I'm
whether
trying
they're
to say.
interacting with their parent, with the parent. I can think for the parent, they're getting that kind of thing when they're attending, say, a yoga class or a workout class, because then they all have to participate, and
Right.
and they have to show enthusiasm and that sort of thing. But suddenly, when they have to bring the child in, they it's that change of attitude from, this is a child's class and I can go do this in the corner, to, oh, this is a class, this is a family class, and I can play with my child, I can share a scarf with my child, I can tap sticks with my child, and I can have a lot of fun with my child. That's nice.
Talking from a parent's perspective, yeah, I'm glad you mentioned that, the comfort of the parent, because one thing, I'm the president of this company, and when my kids started doing these classes, um, there is a very uncomfortableness of a parent going into a class for the first time. Um, and it's not that the surroundings aren't pleasant. It's not that the teacher isn't pleasant. It's that, you're not really sure what you're getting into. Um, you're not, some of the songs maybe you don't know. Um, and there's this automatic tension that arises
Hmm.
that doesn't allow you to free yourself. And that makes it very, very hard for a parent. And it's very easy, like you said, Ellen, to lay back in a corner and say, this is a child's class. I'm just going to play on my phone or read a book or whatever. It's very easy to do that. And it's very hard to actually become an active participant like you're talking about. Yeah.
Yeah, there's always that other safety issue of opening their mouths to sing. I don't
Mm-hmm.
sing, I don't sing in tune. I All those stories we get from parents, that music teacher told me to stop singing when everyone else was, and I never ever sing. Um, or even discomfort with their bodies. You know,
Mm-hmm.
I've many times have had parents in the room, and getting off the floor could be difficult for them, and or they have a bad knee, or the child wants to be picked up and they can't pick up that child for whatever reason, or they don't want to pick up their child for whatever reason. And so we the teacher, we're constantly looking for what's the safe space for that parent right now, and how could we expand that just a little bit, verse, to get them out of their own little shell and maybe actually sing a verse. So the call response songs are a great example of where, there's nothing like singing. We were doing a Little Tom Tinker, and you have to sing mama, and then there's silence, and the parents are all going, you mean I have to sing? And that's a great beginning to get them to come out and respond. So there's that sing along aspect, and then there's that call response aspect that we offer in the classes that helps, again, open up, and laughter. The silliness of that song, of singing that yeah.
Yeah, and I think that this is all good for us to remember as teachers, that it does take time, and we just need to be patient with those parents and not expect too much of them at the beginning. But we can be encouragers, and we can say little sentences that help put them at ease at every point. And to think, and going back to what you were saying, Jeff, as a parent in a class, I remember feeling that way with Ben as a baby, because it was really the first baby's class I'd ever been in. And it was taught by somebody else. And even I had a hard time getting into that I have to fall into sort of a comfortable place here with Ben and with the other moms, and there's just a lot going on for a new parent, I think. So we should be gracious, and but we should try to put them at ease. And the other point I want to touch on is to be sure that we tell parents that their child wants to hear them sing, and they need to hear that their voice, they need to feel the vibration of them singing. And for them, there's no judgment. They don't care what you're singing. They care that it's your voice. And that's the most important thing to that child. And so and that's a hard point to get across to parents, because back to what you were saying, if they've been told that they can't sing, then they're going to be right away, they're going to say, yeah, but we just have to keep encouraging them that they want to hear your voice. Give them opportunities to sing on Lou, do the song if they don't know the words. Can you hum it? Whatever you can do to get them singing is really, really important. And the other thing I always like to tell parents or new teachers is, and also to parents, is that if your child gets a little older and they're sitting in your lap and you're singing and they turn around to cover your mouth, that's not because they don't think you're a good singer. That is because they're trying to hear themselves sing. And I'm pretty sure it was Lorna that I heard say that many years ago, that they're trying to they're just getting to the point where they're putting their little voices out, and it's a lot maybe to process. And so if they do that, that's because it's becoming about their voice. So don't take that personally. I've had a lot of parents worried that meant, oh, I'm no good.
I'm no good.
We want them to keep singing.
Yeah, and that unfortunately can even take a step further as well. Leave the room too, and that's where the teacher respectfully says, no, calling it a family time, calling it a time where everybody comes together.
Yeah.
Is so important. And that's why the online experience is especially challenging for this, because they're in the safety of their own home, but we don't get that same connection of holding hands in a circle.
Yeah.
So we have to look for ways to draw them out, and that means making sure that they're not muted. I've grappled with this for a year now, and I've tried the mute and I've tried the unmute.
Yeah.
And for all the distractions and background noise and the who knows what, the unmute is really the better experience for everybody, because at least there is the oral interaction that, oh, look, all the other parents are singing too. At least on the platform I use, they can all hear each other. I know on some platforms it's one at a time, so you can't do that. But on the platform I use, it does. And it's wonderful to hear them all singing back at the same time. A wonderful feeling. You can't get that when they mute it. So
true.
Yeah.
Yeah, I have a class of babies that's a fairly new class, and those parents are dutifully muting, and it's the funniest thing, because I'm used to everybody being unmuted, and so I have to remind them to unmute. And I did notice that because it's a baby's class, it's a little bit slower, I can look up and see their mouths moving, so I'm really impressed that they're singing, but I can't hear any of it. So I'm encouraging them to unmute. And I agree with the other classes. And my platform, it cuts in and out, but I think that overall they're hearing, snippets of other people singing. And so there's a sense of community there. I agree.
One thing I've learned, being a parent in the classes, is just how vital my role as a parent is in these classes. So let's talk about the security that a parent can bring to a class. Giving this kind of familiar base for a child.
Think of how to come from that one. The security can be so many levels, from the security of them getting them to the class securely, and coming, but when they come in, they're bringing that secure feeling. What I say to a lot of parents, especially new parents, and they want to leave, and the child isn't feeling secure, or even if they're in the room and the child isn't feeling secure, I keep reminding them I only see them once a week. And the expectation that they're going to feel comfortable immediately in my space is a big, large expectation. So if I can invite the parent to come in and take a seat on the floor and, allow them to sit on your lap and allow them to meet their needs, are they thirsty? Are they hungry? All those important security things are done. Then, and they've got enough sleep too, and a fresh diaper. All those things means that they can then, in the space, in the parent's universe, they can enjoy this music. But I got to have the parent in the room providing that space. So is that the security you're talking about? Is that where you...
I think that's part of it, yeah. In my mind, it also gives the child the ability to, seek out new experiences. If they know that they have a home base, they're being me. If like in class with Katie, especially when she was younger, as long as she had me as a home base, she was happy to go get sticks, as long as she could come back to me. It's almost like it's building confidence and comfort for the child to be able to experience these things. Does that kind of hit it a little bit?
Yeah,
I think so too. And to maybe address the online aspect of that security, I think part of that is what we're hoping that the parent can set up the environment to be secure. So we want distractions to be at a minimum. We want them to have their basket of instruments that they're so used to having off to the side. And I know we'll talk about this as we move through this podcast, but I think setting up an environment that's secure harkens back to the quote from Montessori talking about how we want their focus to be on the music garden activity, right? So what we have to do is remove things that are going to keep that focus from being able to take place. And anything that's, causing them to distraction, we want to eliminate that. So anything that's outside of what they need. And I think there's a real security in knowing I've got my sticks here, I have my scarf here, it's all right here. My other toys are not around me. All of that allows for the child to experience the activity and layer on their experiences. And we want to give them that opportunity to layer on experiences to these concepts rather than getting distracted by what's in the room. So I think there's a real security in that, and I think that the children really appreciate that, and we model that as well. So we're hopefully our space looks like what we want their space to look like. I always very specifically say, after maybe we've worked with our sticks, I'll say, now I'm going to take my sticks and I'm going to put them back in my basket, which is over here. Sometimes I show them my basket, and then I kind of lean over and set that to the side and move on to the next thing. And I do have to keep an eye out on all the boxes, as Ellen was talking about, in front of me, because they're not always going to do that. And sometimes you see like little sticks, you can see them poking up into the box, and then you have to remind them to please put those things away, because that's usually when the parent has stepped out or they're not there, and you are the one trying to give them that security. So a little reminder, right now we're using our hands. So I do a lot of this in my classes.
Mm-hmm.
I said, let's put our sticks down, and then as soon as you put your sticks over there, can you show me your hands? Because once they've shown me their hands, I know they've let go of whatever that was. Whether it was a breakfast burrito or it was sticks, they're going to let go of that, and then we can go on to the next activity. And that comes in handy also with, I should say, playing drums. I don't know if you've noticed that students want to use things to play the drums.
Yeah.
They're like, I'm going to use those wooden spoons that we're using for sticks, and I'm going to play my drum. So I really have to draw their attention to that. No, we're going to use our hands on our drums. Watch, and they need to see me with how I'm playing my drum. And so I'll have to have them set their sticks aside, show me their hands, and now we're going to go, yes, ma'am, and we're going to play our drums. So all of that, I think, builds on this idea of a security, a secure environment, and provides that, just that space that we need for them to engage and to grow.
Now, do you think there's the parents have a kind of a modeling aspect to this, where we're obviously watching the teacher, you know, watching the teacher doing the activities. What does us doing the activities do for the child?
What, oh, for them to watch us doing the
No,
activity?
for me, for like us as a parent, for me as a
Us, the
parent,
parents.
Oh, yeah.
for the parent
Right.
doing the activity, what does that do? What does that modeling do for the child? Yeah.
Oh, it translates it into their safe space. That's paramount. Whether they're at home or they're in my studio, if the parent does it, I get a higher rate of the child eventually doing it. Of course, there are children who will not do the activity, but and I'm not talking about the parent taking their hands and trying to roll them. They may get them started and then they'll let go. I've seen that, and certainly I'll encourage that if they've never done that experience before. So they're getting the neural connection. Oh yeah, oh, and then they let go and they either keep going or they don't. But I don't want to see a parent, oh, I'm gonna force them get that roll going, and that's not where I want to go. So getting the parent to model the roll where the child is just there watching the roll is so wonderful. And then everybody in the room is rolling, and all of a sudden near the end of the activity, if I've held it long enough, that child might actually begin to start to roll. And that's my cue to keep on going a little bit longer, because that child just figured it out. It only took, 8 repeats.
Yeah, it's the key to everything. I mean, it opens up everything. The parent participation is the gateway to like a joyful experience. And honestly, this week I had a mom in our Music Makers Around the World class, and we were doing I think we were in our boats. We were sailing a boat along, and Swiftly May You Go, and we were doing the thing where you get up and blow around the room in the middle, and it was the funniest thing because this mom was participating, and she would blow past the screen one way, then she'd blow past the other way, and the kids were laughing, and it was just so joyful. And same thing happened in Music Makers at Home, where we were doing a dance, and the mom had come in, and the mom is holding a baby, and then she's got her 5-year-old in front of her, and the 3 of them are doing a dance, and I'm hearing laughter from the 5-year-old, and I'm just thinking, that's it.
Bingo.
That's it.
That happened when we did Billy. And this is a parent who has consistently, now she's convinced that the child does better if she's not in the room. Oy vey. All right, so I sent her a text saying, I really need you in the class just today, because we're going to be doing some special activities, and I can't do it with him. I really need your body in the room.
Yes, right.
And she was like, okay, I guess I can do that, and we did the Billy, and he found this motion just delightful. He wanted to do this with mom again and again. And then the Sally down the alley, of course there was no alley because we didn't have, 5 other families, but we sallied all around the room, and the giggles were just, who would have expected? I think she heard those giggles too, and I was so pleased. And then I just grabbed her and I said, oh, we have to do another activity with mom in the room. And I just grabbed, and she finally said, do I ever get to leave? And I was like, I don't know. I really need you for, I made it so clear. Yeah. I finally said, yeah, you can leave for the story, I guess, and she left. She had to leave. And we did the story, and it was a fun story. And as soon as we're done, I said, go get mom. We have more to do.
Yeah. It's so helpful too for the online, like you're saying, the dances, you can't do down the alley. It's like you can't really do some of the big circle things that we do necessarily, but I've changed a lot of my online things to come to the camera and then away from the camera, and the kids just think that's a riot, especially if I have like a stuffed animal and I'll bring it like really close to the camera, and the parents are the ones really helping direct that, like getting the idea of, oh, we could go 8 steps in and 8 steps back, even with the older students, the music maker students. And so when we did Down the River with Nimble and
Oh.
Quick, you know, we were coming to the camera for Down the River, and then we'd go back. It was just delightful, and having the parent there to help direct those dances and to participate in that is all just it's just delightful.
It seems to confirm the value of the activity to the child. You know, I think back. I've been working here for a couple of years, and Lorna took me to. She was teaching in a Head Start program, actually not too far from the office, and she was like, "Jeff, why don't you come along with me to these classes?" You know, so I would go with her to the class, and I would participate in the activities. And the thing that I noticed is all the little boys in this Head Start program would all of a sudden want to be my partner. You know,
Right.
and it probably had a lot to do with I was lending validity to what Ms. Lorna was doing in the class, and they had never seen, they probably have never seen an adult male do this type of activity. So it made them feel comfortable, and it made them feel good, and it valued what they were doing in the class, you know. Now I see that with my kids too. I can only talk from the in-person aspect because you know, the online classes we're doing are keyboard classes, which are great. But the little ones, you know, that's what I remember doing. And I remember going to the classes, and my daughters would always participate more in the activities the more that either me or my wife participated in the activities.
Definitely.
Yes.
Yeah. The majority of the children will prefer to do it with a parent.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, there's always one that will lay on the ground, not do it with the parents, but that's the exception to the rule, and you just respectfully let them lay in the middle of the circle as we all go around them.
That was my daughter. Thank you very much. Yeah, she was the one who would lie down in the middle of the circle, and we would just do the dance around her. And she was absorbing because she's an amazing musician today, but she was the one. So I know what that feels like. And they're still absorbing, they're still getting the whole experience, and that's what they needed at that moment. So they're not hurting anybody. As long as nobody's dancing on top of her, we're fine.
One thing we didn't put in our notes, but you know, the different parent interaction between the age groups, because it's going to be a little different in a toddler class as it is to a music makers class. But one thing I always remember with music makers is, of course, the parent's not in there for the majority of the class. They come in for the last 15 minutes, but immediately the child wants to tell you what they've done. They want to jump back into this safe space with their parent and interact with them like that.
Yeah.
You know,
They can't wait for that moment to open the door and let the parents in. In fact, in my classes, I don't know if that happens to other teachers, but it becomes a thing, you know, who gets to invite the parents in from the hallway. And they want to do it every time. So I have to keep track. Who opened the door last week?
Oh, yeah.
They want to bring the parents in, and wow. And of course the parents, sometimes immediately the parents think, oh, you need to, no, don't talk now. Don't, you know, but the child wants to tell them, like you're saying, Jeff, they want to say everything. Like, oh, we did this and we did this and we did this. And the parents come in and think that it's still a classroom setting and you shouldn't be talking now. And I have to, again, release them to that freedom. You know, there are things that we release our parents to. It's okay. And then they kind of, you know, get settled in, and then we talk about, okay, what were we going to do during parent time? You know, let's all do this as a group. Let's do this as a group. Can you show this to your parent on your own? You're right. And I think that changes online. I don't know if other teachers feel this way, but because the parents online in a music makers class are more, I call them the stage managers, because they have to kind of be on hand because the notebooks, you know, they got the binder and they got the folder and they got the game pieces, and there's so much going on, and I can't be there to help them stay organized. So the parents are sort of on hand to help with all the logistics. So I feel like the parents kind of been there the whole time. So it sort of changes my focus on the parent time. It has shifted a little bit, and I feel like parent time has now woven itself into the entire class. So looks a little different online.
Yes, very much so. I'm finding I'm weaving that in, even in the keyboard classes.
Yeah. Yeah.
Many times you'll notice it will say to do the activity again, but I know the parents have already done the whole activity.
Right.
I'm just not going to do it again. It doesn't
Yeah.
make sense to me. I can use this time to do something else that I didn't maybe have time to do earlier.
Yeah.
I haven't made my classes shorter. I still need all the time.
Me too.
Oh, good. I was wondering about other people talking about making them 20 minutes, and I'm like, there's no way.
No.
No way. I need every ounce. I start on time online, and those parents are still plugging in, well, guess what? We start on time. I'm not waiting until they get there. I'm sorry, that's a little tough love, but it simply is so. All they have to do is press the button, and get there on time.
Yeah.
It's not like they're anywhere else. They really are home. So,
In fact, I agree. I need the whole time, but you're right. You use the time a little bit differently, but it's always time that you need. Even with a smaller class, I'm still, it's that full hour or whatever it is. And I noticed too that I'm talking to the parents at the end. The parents kind of want a little communication with the teacher, like they're leaning into the screen and they're like, hey, and they want to have a little chit chat time. So then I use that time to talk about what they could be doing during the week, and I draw their attention to the parent book. I feel like I'm doing that way more now than I was before, and maybe it's put a different emphasis in my thinking and how I communicate to the parents. But I'll say, if you look on page 10 and 11 in the parent book, that's where that dance is. So why don't you guys try that this week, and we'll meet up next week. Or if it's something we can't do in class because it's online and it just isn't working, maybe it's ensemble. I'll say, here's the way you build that ensemble. It's right on this page. And the parents will like, wait, and they get the book out and they're looking. So there's been some value here. But yeah, the parent participation is different, and it sort of shifts as it moves up through the curriculum.
Yeah, definitely. I guess that's because also the children are eventually becoming more independent music makers.
Definitely.
That
I
is
think
a
my
goal.
cycle of seasons students online have been even more independent than they are when we're all in the classroom together. Well, I love having parents at cycles, and I wouldn't want to do it any other way. But I do feel like there's a little bit of a difference. My cycle students are like up close with the camera. They are ready to go. They're waiting for their patterns. They've got their own microphones. It's the
Yeah.
they're very focused. I'm sometimes shocked to say, but it's been delightful. I love my cycles class. I like them all, but
The cycles class is the most interesting because also they're 3 and they have certain ideas of how they wish this class to go. And as I've mentioned before, they will bring in props. Even though we keep that space clear, little James wanted to add a ball to the game. That's just what was so. And I happened to have an inflated ball, and off we went. The activity suddenly exploded. So many ways we could move with the ball. He even came with a great one where he rolled on top of it. Oh man, that was a wonderful thing because he was the ability to move his body was just fun. And the following week, I was wondering, will the ball come back? And there it was. He had that ball waiting. It was the only reason why he came to class. And his friend, Finn, didn't have a ball. And I thought, uh-oh, what are we going to do? And lo and behold, his sister came running in, I've got a ball, and off we had to do it all again, every single... And then the ball moved over there, and we had to cover the ball with a scarf, and then they all decided a truck had to go over the ball.
oh wow.
I couldn't stop it. I didn't want to stop it. And the parents were open to this chaotic music making and movement and manipulation and taking control, and they were engaged. So Montessori, I understand about removing things from the room. It's not a story, but in this class, didn't happen.
Well, unfortunately, she didn't have to deal with a COVID situation where everybody's online. So,
Right.
Yeah.
You can't control everything.
no, you can't. And I don't think she would. I don't think she would put you down for following the child either.
No.
Ellen, because that's also a big aspect of her teaching, you know. So,
And yeah, and boy, that was a follow the child class.
yeah.
Choom, 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 you know, running around the room. And, you know, I could throw, got to a point where we're all taking turns, and that really was getting cool. Everybody was taking a turn. Mom, sisters. You never know who's in the room.
Yeah.
You suddenly hear from, you know, outside of the other room. Someone will call in. Did you do trotting yet? You know.
Yeah. Yeah, that's true. They're often in the room and they're participating off to the side and you don't know what's going on. In fact, I had a music maker student show up the next day after a baby's class, and she had drawn her little sister is in the baby's class. She had drawn a picture of the doll that I use in baby's class. And she's like, look at this. And I was like, is that my doll? And she had been off to the side, just enjoying the music and the baby time, but doing it her own way and drawing a picture. So yeah. All kinds of things.
Good point. You know, because the families are all home, you're getting the older siblings who have done all these programs,
Yeah.
and they come back.
They do.
They love coming back. We did Hey, Let's Dance Together, and my Ayla jumped in, you know, and grabbed, you know,
Yeah.
Genevieve, and off they did it, and we had a ball. They have a big enough family. They formed a big circle, and they did the whole circle game in their house.
This is
Yeah.
why I can't wait until we can have family music nights again, because that's what that's all about. The end of the semester when everybody just comes into a big room and just experiences it together. One day we will be back to that.
That kind of leads into, you know, kind of parents do have the responsibility of planning some things, you know, to make this an enjoyable time. Whether they're going to an in-person class or they're joining an online class. So what kind of ideas you got there?
Well, in addition to the environment, which we've talked about, because that's a part of planning ahead, right, is creating that space, that secure space. But there are some things that I've been having to remind my parents about before class, and that is to take care of things that need to be taken care of. For example, visiting the restroom before class starts so they don't have to leave class. And that especially happens with my music makers. It's not the little ones, it's all of a sudden somebody will just disappear. Oh, well, they had to go to the bathroom. Well, couldn't they have done that already? So try to get that done. Snacks, that's a big one. Make sure that if you're going to have, if it's around eating time, a snack and a drink beforehand, and then it needs to go away. And because if it's nearby, they're going to be going for that snack. I mentioned the burrito earlier, and it was a breakfast burrito. So yeah, we need to make sure that those are not in the environment, and that just takes a little planning ahead. And I did start, I think I had mentioned when we were chatting earlier that my Cyclo Seasons class has a text group, a text chat group. And I've noticed that for me as a teacher, I've been giving them a little bit of a little wake-up call about 10 minutes before class. I'll take a picture of my sign that says, today we're going to use scarves, blah, 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 and we're going to need these 4 cards. I'll take a picture of that and I send it through the chat. And I'll say, good morning, see you guys soon. And there's the picture. And I feel like it gets them, oh yeah, okay, we have to start a little bit earlier. We can't wait until 10 a.m. and then, like you're saying, you know, click and be ready. They have to really, really plan ahead. And I do have parents who sign on 10 minutes ahead, and they're in my waiting room, and I can see that they're, you know, ready for class. So I think it's having an impact. So yeah, there's a little bit of planning on their part.
Planning also for the keyboard classes, as I mentioned, because there's a lot, and we don't want to be spending time while mom or the child's running into the other room to find those cards that they haven't ripped apart yet, because I didn't rip them apart for the first time. And I learned my lesson. I'm not doing that again. I'm going to rip them apart like I always did. And in fact, I set up one where I not only ripped them apart, I put on paper clips with using this week 4. Thank you, Amy. Using this on week 6 and putting it into a little holder. I have a little carrier and it says, you know, book 5. And that way it's all in one place and they're not. But what I've done also is I'll do something similar. I take a video and I'll have my studio all set up and I'll say, well, we need this, this, and here are the notation cards you need. And they really do need to see them. That had always been a problem. And I don't know why I didn't think of this sooner. Just send them a picture of the notation cards. Oh, those notation cards. Yes, that shape.
Right.
And suddenly that, so what I've experienced, some of the advantages of online, homework has been done 100%. The writing assignment's done. And all I did was saying, I need it texted to me in time for the class because I'm going to show their homework on a shared screen. So if I don't have it, I can't share it. And that child knows, oh, well, you know, I didn't, and then I get this text in the middle of the class. Now, I can't do anything about it. Well, I can. I do some things with it. But overall, I've noticed they're getting early. Now I get them almost the night before, even they now know. But it took a good 3 months for them to get that. Yeah, every writing thing is done that way.
Wow.
So, yeah, that's planning.
Yeah. Yeah, I can't wait until when we're back to normal. One of my favorite things to do with my keyboard classes is to have a parent day where they come to my house or wherever, and I get out the new books and I hand them all the cards, and we deperforate. I don't know what the opposite of, I don't know what's that
Separate.
verb?
We separate the cards.
Separate the cards. I don't know, like deeper, you can't deperforate.
Yeah, I can't
Deperf, yeah.
I like the word, good Scrabble word.
I know, deperforate. All right, there you go. So you're welcome. I have them take them apart, and then I have them put their initials on the back or whatever it is, and everybody, and the moms love this. They get a little wine if they want, and they get to choose their favorite color or what they think their child's favorite color is of, Sharpie or whatever. They put their initials on the back, but we're talking through them as we go. And I'm saying, now the cards you're separating right now are blah, blah, blah. These are the notation, and we'll talk about them while they're writing the initials. And then they hand them to me in a little stack, and I set them aside, and that's the stack of cards that I'm going to need on that week. And we go through the whole thing that way. And I talk through every card, and and in between, are just visiting and socializing, and it's just a blast. And they're invested in those manipulatives, and it's not just random cards. These are things that they have touched and put initials on, and so there's this ownership. So I can't wait to get back to that.
That's a great idea. I could see it for the next book, at least, to make sure they all have the material in their home if you can't do it in the classroom, and they're doing it in their own space, and then we could talk about it that way too. I have parents who don't want to come here. They're always too busy, too this, too that. I end up doing these little private lessons throughout it's very stressful to do, 10 private lessons on ripping cards apart. But, and wine and cheese just doesn't seem to bring them here, but possibly this format might be better. It's just pray that they don't lose it. Well, yeah, if they're home, they're home. They're not going, well, they do lose them. I love it when a child loses something and then they blame me. It's great. You never gave me those cards. I don't have those cards, Ellen. And I'll be like, yes, you do have them. No, I don't, Ellen. I don't have them. And and after about 5 minutes, you mean those long cards? Oh.
Yeah, I've had that too. Like, you forgot to get me those cards, Miss Amy. No, I didn't. But yeah, it's a struggle, and it also lets you know how much the parents have observed when you are in person. Like, they take a lot for granted. We make it look very easy. We have it all organized. Here are the cards we need today, and we don't hand them to the child at the beginning of class. We wait until that moment in the class, and then we go to the cards. There are all these things that they have no idea that's what we've been doing.
The thought process of, when do I give them this precious thing that I may never see again? Especially those pink cards with the the letters and the number and the staff.
Yeah.
The Ziploc. The 3 and a. the organization, the videos showing them this is a great way to organize it. Here's a game you could do at home.
Yeah. Yeah.
Again,
But I think you're right that that would work online. You could do that just kind of like you do the parent night. If you do a parent orientation online, I've found the value of that because, like you said, they don't always want to come out to, your location. So yeah, maybe this is something that could be done online as well.
assuming that, of course, they have to have the material. We'd have to somehow make them come and pick up the material.
Oh, yeah. Or have,
A little more complex, but then again, you could wait on doing it after the first class. The first class, you give them all the material, but you give the parent, you say, because that evening we're going to have that online session where you're going to separate them with me.
yeah.
Could work.
I think I did it where I had all the material myself. The parents came to my house. We separated the cards, and then I kept everything.
Yeah, see, I prefer that, especially if it's in person. If
Yeah,
it's
in person.
if it's the home version, like, online, then
Yeah.
that would be the solution. Once everybody has the material, then off we go. And the person who didn't go to the post office, well, they're going to have to do it.
Yeah, I think you're right. I think there might be value in waiting until after that first class because, yeah, there's always the lag, the person who has lagged behind getting their materials. So,
Yeah, no
yeah,
way.
yeah, could be done.
Does make you think about modeling, if that parent is the lagger or the procrastinator, it's usually no surprise that the child is similar. I don't know why, but it tends to be that way, That's the one who says, you didn't give me those cards.
Right. Yes.
Ask your mom.
Yeah. And having all of their stuff, part of that planning is, the music makers level, that is a whole other thing. You're right.
Yeah.
But I think if we bring it down to cycles and toddlers, and that they really just need to keep a set of what we use: sticks, jingles, shakers, scarf,
In a bag.
basket next to them, so that if you decide in class that you want to go to a scarf activity, they can just reach over and get the scarf. It always should be right there, and not something I'm always shocked that they're running around looking for something. So we need to keep modeling that and keep telling the parents and encouraging them to keep that music garden basket handy. It has to be the same thing, and they can show. It's like you said, Ellen, when they start seeing what the other students are doing. Show me what does your basket look like? Where do you keep your music garden things? And have them show you, so that there's this sense, okay, people are getting organized. I think I better get my act together.
Ownership.
Yeah. So we got to keep encouraging, keep reminding, keep modeling.
The big red bags that the instrument kits come in, they love that.
Oh yeah.
Keeps it all together. The drum is a little more problematical. My mistake was not to insist that everybody buy a drum, because the variety of drums have been less than exciting. And that is something I've written down, that all families need to have at least one of these drums. So it may not even be a choice. I want to have that choice of adding a drum to the activities, not a book back or a rim drum, because those rim drums, with the high rim, and then they can't get their hand down onto it, so then they got to use their sticks. You've seen those children's drums, snare drum type looking ones that they get in children's stores, which are really awful. I want them to have a good quality drum at home, not just here. So all right, so the home material cost is going up a little. Well, yeah, but think of how many times they're going to use it. So
yeah, and how many years? I mean, if they handle them correctly, those instruments will last a lifetime. I mean, they really are meant to last, not just for this class. You'll use them in the next class, the next class, and the next class.
it's
all
really
the way through. Yeah, I agree.
Yeah. And then maybe set something in, I haven't done it yet, but set some kind of reminder to the parent that if you've lost a stick, or if you can't find your bells, no problem. Here, we'll just get another set to you. Make sure you get another set, another drum. Yes, he put something through it. Yeah, so get another one. Don't go out and buy that stuff that is at the local, children's store.
Yeah.
Where just not
Dollar
the
store,
way I
yeah.
want.
Yeah, don't get your glockenspiel at the dollar store.
Well, we kind of rabbit trailed a little bit there, but that's fine. So,
Yeah.
so I mean, to sum up, parents. I mean, this is
That's our
the
brains.
yeah,
It's John
yeah,
the Rabbit. It's all John the Rabbit. It's all his fault.
yeah. That's right. That's right. To sum up, parents, you know, because that's the big topic we're talking about here. You know, these adults that are in the room. So, you know, they're supplying the security base for the child, which allows them to seek out new experiences. It helps them build confidence and gives comfort to the child. The modeling aspect is huge, you know, and then you know planning ahead, you know, especially with the online classes, with the in-person classes, you know, the snack and all that stuff, getting there, getting to the bathroom, all that kind of comes natural. But when you're online and you're in your own home, it's not things that you think about quite as often. Yeah.
Right.
Mm.
Right.